Brothers and sisters, I would like first to thank God for giving me this opportunity to come into this holy and prayerful shrine to pray and meditate with you. I also thank Father Peeber and Father Shea for giving me another chance, inviting me here. Today, as we all know, we celebrate the feast of the presentation of our Lord Jesus Christ in the temple. This celebration commemorates the meeting between Christ and his people. And according to the scriptures passage that we just heard, the people here are represented by Simeon and Anna. So for our meditation this morning, I would like to focus on Simeon. And the theme for our meditation is taking Jesus, first finding Jesus in the temple, finding Jesus in the temple, and taking Jesus from Mary's arm to your arms. Finding Jesus in the church and taking Jesus from Mary's arms into your arms. The scriptures passage that we just heard said that the Spirit led Simeon to the temple. And Simeon took the baby from Mary's arms, the mother of the baby, praised God and said, "My eyes have seen your salvation." Brothers and sisters, what that means when you see Jesus, you see your salvation. When you find Jesus, you find your salvation. When Simeon took the blessed baby into his arms and lifted him up, although that was a physical action, yet there is a spiritual action underneath it. I try to picture that day, to see it, Simeon taking the baby and holding the baby with him. And when you look at that picture, it looks like Simeon is saying, "This baby is now my baby. This is mine." Brothers and sisters, this is a great lesson for us to learn from Simeon, this old man who loves God, spent all his life waiting to see the fulfillment of God's promise. This baby is now my baby. So the great lesson is, in your encounter with Jesus, you do not simply sit and cross your arms and look at Jesus and say, "Wow, what a beautiful baby, gorgeous, wonderful." No, you do not sit and admire baby Jesus. You put forward your hands and take the baby Jesus to be your own baby. Make Jesus be your baby. Brothers and sisters, we came this morning in this holy place just as Simeon went to the temple that day. And today we are receiving Jesus in his word and in the Holy Eucharist. And I want every one of us here, present here, when you come forward to receive Jesus in the Holy Eucharist, say to yourself, let your heart say, "This is my baby. This is mine. Jesus is mine now and forever. This is my own." Let your heart say this when you receive Jesus in the Eucharist. This is a great teaching that Simeon is giving us on this feast of the presentation of the Lord, making Jesus your own. And we also heard from today's gospel that Simeon was led by the Spirit to the temple and received Jesus from Mary's arms. Let's look more deeply at this picture because it has a deep spiritual significance. There were certainly many people and with many babies in the temple that day. I don't believe Jesus was the only baby on that day in the temple. There were probably, because it was a big temple in Jerusalem. The temple of Jerusalem was the temple for the people of Israel. So certainly there were so many parents with their babies. So when you look at the situation like this, it could have been very confusing for Simeon to recognize who is the right baby, the divine child. Where is he? Among all these babies and parents, where is baby Jesus? It could have been confusing. But because Simeon submitted himself to the movement of the Spirit, he looked at Mary, he looked at the baby that lady was holding, and went directly to that baby, the right baby. Brothers and sisters, it's very important for you and me today to note that Mary is the only one who is holding the blessed baby. You find Jesus in the church, just as Simeon found Jesus in the temple. And you recognize who is that blessed baby in the hands of his mother, just as Simeon recognized Jesus in the hands of Mary. You do not find Jesus on the street. You do not find Jesus in the media, social media. You do not find Jesus in the politicians' speeches. You do not find Jesus in the books of philosophers. You find Jesus in the church and in Mary's hands. Brothers and sisters, in today's world is a very confusing world where everyone would like to present you his own idea of how Jesus should look like. You see in the social media presenting Jesus. You see politicians talking about Jesus, presenting their own Jesus. You see philosophers in their books presenting Jesus. I can tell you, brothers and sisters, this is fake Jesus. Do not accept Jesus who is portrayed by social media, by social groups of interest, by politicians, by philosophers. Come to the church to find the right baby, and you find the right baby in his mother, in the arms of his mother, Mary. That's where you have the right Jesus. If Simeon sang the joyful song of praise to the Lord, it's because he found the right baby. So you and I are called today to find Jesus. We are called to find Jesus in the church, only in the church and in Mary's hands. In Mary's hands, we are more sure that the baby here that we find is really the Messiah, the fulfillment of God's promise, and no one else. Do not accept Jesus who is offered to you by someone else other than Mary.